Oh, I have to turn on my camera. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Movie Battleground. I didn't tell the competitors this, but the upload date right now that we're uploading this on is November 30th. Remember when I said it would take 1 week to get that part 2 of the horror video out? Try 1 month. But we did. We got here eventually. It didn't take a month to record. I'm just going to hold this for 2 weeks and then upload it for the bit. Welcome back, guys. My name is Aaron Knoll. We are back here for the part 2 of the previously. It was put out on Halloween. If you haven't seen it, it is a shorter than normal video, so you can go check it out. But we tried this weird experimental thing with the Battleground where we had 8 competitors separately in their own individual recordings argue for what they felt was the best horror film of all time. And at the end of it, the idea was the top 4 were going to get to come into this match and open debate and actually cross debate and attack each other's movies, and we were going to settle it here. We ended up having a draw. The top 5 competitors made it through. We have Chad Webb, Noah McCausland, Will Cohen, Alejandro Hernandez, and John Marr all here to argue their picks for what is the best horror film of all time. So we're going to quickly introduce these guys, and then we're going to get to the match. So introducing first, he came definitively in first place in the last match. He is the person with maybe the most weight on his shoulders in theory, just because of how heavy a favorite he was. But he's also, in that sense, got the most to hold up to. He is Chad Webb, arguing for Halloween. Chad, welcome back. How you doing tonight? I would love to know how you're doing if you weren't muted. There we go.
Sorry. Good. Yeah, this is definitely one of my favorite movies to discuss, talk about, argue about, I guess, because, you know, I think it is the best horror movie ever made. You know, I've discussed that. I've argued about it. But these other competitors are really good, and I think most of them have picked pretty good choices for this. So I'm interested to see how this turns out.
All right, and introducing the man who came in definitively second place. He was just ahead of the rest of the pack, arguing for The Shining. He is Noah McCausland. Noah, welcome back. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling pretty good. I think this is the only match that I have kind of faced off against Chad against, so I'm kind of interested to see how that will go.
Yeah. I mean, it's like saying I had sex with person A when in an orgy, but yeah, you did face off against Chad, technically.
All right.
We can finally say that now. Introducing the next person to the orgy, wearing a blazer, which is exactly what you wear in an orgy.
He would.
He would. Well, it's already in his basement, so it's ready. He came third in our matchup. He was, stop rubbing your nipples. He was 1 point ahead of. He was 1 point ahead of our tie, but he is here. Will Cohen arguing for identity. The best part of that joke was no one could see him. You don't know if you don't actually know if he was rubbing his nipples. Maybe I just made that up. Well, how do you feel about me slandering your name?
I mean, Noah is right. It was me, and it is me, and yes, I was totally doing that to make Aaron laugh.
I'm sure your wife loves you.
I mean, you know, you should see what our wedding vows were. But in all fairness, I'm here yet again to kind of pose the eternal question: what the fuck is this guy doing here? I chose the complete outlier film of anyone. I came into the recording giving literally 0 fucks that I was going to even think of coming in. I filmed my thing. Aaron said, "Hey, do you want to reshoot that?" I said, "No. Why would I do that?" And here I am in third. I watched Chad I watched Noah's videos. They were very, very prepared.
Music, Oscar
I wasn't prepared.
music, Oscar.
So
I don't know what the song is.
Oh,
does
man.
anyone? It changes every year. Either way, I'm here just to kind of, be the agent of chaos I always am, and let's have some fun.
All right, get your water in. Coming in fourth to the battle, he was one of the competitors tied for fourth place, but he is just as worthy of being here. Talk about an agent of chaos. He was the last minute entrant to this whole thing, but he made it to the finals. Alejandro Hernandez, who will be arguing for a Nightmare on Elm Street. He looks like he's living in a Nightmare on Elm Street. How's it going, sir?
Keeping busy, Aaron, unfortunately, but I'm happy to be here. I'm glad I finally made it to at least this moment, being a wild card in the last match and having the least amount of prep out of anybody and still making it to the finals. I'm feeling pretty good. And thinking about it, I've got a couple of things I could say about the other movies, so we'll see if I can stick it to everybody else.
I'm going to certify that because the other 6 had the opportunity to at least argue their answer in a full match previously, and well, John asked for more time to watch the film before he recorded his thing, so I'm just going to assume he had more notes than you for that. And with that said, we'll go ahead and bring in our 5th competitor, the second tie for 5th place, arguing for Let the Right One In. We have John Marr. Oh, no, that's Pez. Sorry, bro. The head, it had me confused. My bad.
Sorry.
My bad. We'll go ahead. No, so here's the funny thing. Last time we talked about the fact that we had to finish in 4th place, and I had said at the time that I didn't really know what we were going to do. Were we going to play all 5 of them? Were we going to just do a tiebreaker? We had planned to play all 5 of them, and then John became unavailable. So that solves our tiebreaker issue. He's just not here. So, John, we wish you luck, sir. You are driving home in a long drive trip. That's driving. Yes, he's driving home right now. I'm having a stroke. So he's not with us. And we look forward to the next time we'll see you, whenever that is. I don't know. He's got another match coming up. Maybe it already aired. Maybe it hasn't. I don't fucking know what the schedule is offhand. But we'll go ahead and get into this. Either way, John is in 5th place. Let's just say that much. And yes, his 0 will remain there the entire match. He is in 5th place. That is just to stroke his ego a little bit more. But with that said, we'll go ahead and get into this. So again, Chad is going to be arguing for Halloween. Noah will be arguing for The Shining. Will be arguing for Identity. Alejandro for A Nightmare on Elm Street. This is a very different matchup than normal. So the way that this is going to work, because these guys have already had 3 minutes to kind of defend and pump up their films. That's why they're here in the first place. They're each going to get 1 minute to sort of just reintroduce their topic, their ideas, what supports their film. They'll get that 1 minute opening. Then this whole thing's just going to be one big bloody debate. It's going to be 10 minutes of back and forth between these guys. It really is an orgy. 10 minutes back and forth, open discussion rules as they try and get in as many punches as possible at each other's films. Maybe there's a team up. Maybe someone gets put in the corner. I don't really know what's going to happen. We'll see. And then following that, they will get 2 minutes each to sort of compose and wrap up their argument and get any final punches out that they want to get. Backstage, we're very lucky that 3 of our 4 judges, at the very least, from our previous video, Austin Howell, Jake Tato, and Madeir Raymond, are here. Sean Sandberg, unfortunately, it seems like couldn't join us. He has the link, so maybe he shows up part of the way through. That'd make like hell for trying to judge this, but it'd be funny if he did. So we'll see how that works out. All right, I'm going to get this match going because these guys have been going off in the private chat talking about wedding nights and John. Oh, that says John Moore. I thought it said John Mayer, which would have made sense for this video so far. Love you, John. But we'll go ahead and get into it. So I'm going to go ahead and bring in the bootleg timer because I don't have a timer that says 10 minutes. Nope, that's the wrong one. Share screen. Tab. This is what goes on behind the scenes, guys. This is what I edited out of the videos. There we go. All right, we have a timer. Okay, so backstage judges, just give me a thumbs up if you guys are good to go. Good. All right, so we will go ahead and get into this. Our video tonight is sponsored by StreamYard. I don't know why I'm paying my sponsor, but they are sponsoring us. And we're going to go ahead and jump into this. So we're just going to go in order that you guys are on screen. Chad, you're going to go first, then Noah, then Will, then Alejandro. and then we'll have some fun. So with that said, I'm going to disappear off screen. Chad, the timer will start for you when you begin speaking. And even though this has no bearing on any of your futures except for, I guess, bragging rights, best of luck to all of you.
Halloween set the standard for how to make an effective and scary horror film. John Carpenter and Deborah Hill focused on writing a perfect script with no filler, an intriguing story, and relatable characters. With a brilliant team, including Dean Cundey, the film is extremely effective in creating a tone and atmosphere that will make you think twice about looking out of your window at night. Focusing on things like lighting, shot composition, and blocking, we get some of the most stunning and creepy shots in any horror film. Halloween is so beloved, people enjoy this film every year because of how much it encapsulates that holiday vibe and just the feeling of being scared. Halloween scores the greatest because it perfectly complements the film and alone can be enough to make you think you're being watched. Every slasher film after this one has tried to recapture its magic and has not been nearly as effective. It has the greatest horror villain, the greatest horror heroes, and it is a true masterpiece. A filmmaker's dream, a horror fan's treasure, the quintessential slasher. Halloween is the greatest horror film ever made.
And time. All right. Noah, over to you. Time starts when you begin speaking.
Whenever Stanley Kubrick tries his hand at a genre, it becomes one of the all-time greatest entries in that genre. 2001 is one of the greatest sci-fi movies ever made. Doctor Strangelove is one of the greatest comedies ever made. Plaza of Glory is one of the greatest war movies ever made. And The Shining is the best horror movie ever made. The director's command of tension is unparalleled, as seen in The Shining's long, patient, steady cam takes and the jarring cuts between Danny's vision of the Grady twins' ghosts and the shocking reality of their chopped up, bloody, soaked corpses. This movie focuses on what makes horror and just elevates every single aspect. Plus, this movie is timeless. Every single element is timeless, but you look at all the other movies in here and they have some sort of element in them that dates them, and you look at back now today and it's hard to watch and it's cringy to watch, or at least that 4 seconds.
All right. We'll go ahead and go over to Will. You have a minute. Time starts when you begin speaking.
Identity may not be the most well-known of the 4 films that you are going to hear about today, but that doesn't mean it's not the best. You have all of the typical horror tropes that that you could possibly want. You have a stormy night, an abandoned hotel. You have a bizarre cast of characters, including a psychotic escaped prisoner. And all of these tropes get turned on their head in the last possible moment at the big reveal that all of the characters that we've been with for these, for about the approximate 2-hour runtime are all personalities inside a serial killer's mind. And one by one, we're trying to figure out who the dominant personality is. It is a thriller right from start to finish. It has an amazing cast featuring classic actors like Rebecca De Mornay and John Cusack, with some newcomers in there, and it is just, again, a thrill right from start to finish.
And time. All right, and then Alejandro, final minute goes to you.
Wes Craven's magnum opus about a dream demon who returns from the dead to take revenge on the children of the people who murdered him for allegedly the wrong reason is a conceptually interesting idea that had not been done previously and has not been done since. The fact that alone makes it the most influential and fantastic horror movie of all time. It's the greatest film about being trapped inside a dream, about being held accountable for the sins of your parents, and about not being able to escape. Freddy Krueger is by far the most interesting and iconic horror movie villain of all time, if you can even call him that. He's more of a horror movie monster, to be perfectly honest. And I say, if nothing else, Nightmare on Elm Street cannot be recreated and will never be recreated in the same light that it had been previously.
And time. All right, I'm going to give it a second because it looks like my internet just blipped. You guys can hear me clearly?
Yes.
All right, we're all back. Okay, so
before we start this, can I have a quick moment?
Sure.
All right, thank you. It should only be about a couple minutes.
All right. Well,
can't tell if this
all right,
is
so
a bit.
Will loses, I win.
I don't think it's a bit.
We don't have rights down here, Madi. We have guns. We traded those for our rights. Oh, I'm gonna leave that line in. Fuck it, that'll be really random. All right, let's go ahead and get back into this. All right, so we have 10 minutes left on the clock for the open debate. These guys are gonna go back and forth here, and I decided, since this is an exhibition and it doesn't really matter, I'm gonna spring something on you guys last minute because there was a concern that there might be a little too much chaos. Of somebody, hogging up the time or speaking too long. So I'm going to keep a separate timer, not on my computer, going here, a stopwatch. In the event that somebody gets a minute straight with no interruptions, I'm going to flash the timer on screen so that the competitors know, cut this son of a bitch off. All right? We all ready?
Sure.
All right, guys. Have fun with it. Best of luck to all of you. The timer will start ticking when the first one of you starts speaking.
I'm going to take a minute to quickly shit on these movies. Nightmare on Elm Street is really just a copied version of Halloween. Halloween started.
Yes.
It revolutionized horror, but it copied everything that Halloween did and did it in
what way?
A horrible manner. It distills Halloween to its basic elements and just amps up sex and violence. And that's not being a good horror film. It's just lazy. In
There's
Identity,
one sex scene and we don't even get to see it.
In Identity,
but it's a lot of Freddy
manipulated for nothing. The Rain's that
people.
brooding, violent thriller.
Yeah, he enjoys killing people. Michael Myers, you can't tell if that guy enjoys it or not.
But a lot of that stuff, though, it feels like really dated, though. Like the tongue on the phone, the stretchy arms, like, a lot of that
practical
stuff.
Effects, you gotta love them.
I do enjoy practical effects.
And Stanley Kubrick has made at least 2 films that are scarier than The Shining. They're called One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest and A Clockwork Orange.
Which one of those had?
What I want to argue right off the bat here is that
Shining.
with both with the Halloween franchise and the Nightmare on Elm Street franchises, those may be great films in their own right, but they're actually done better later on in the franchise itself. The Dream Child, and the Dream Warriors are vastly better than the original Nightmare on Elm Street. And I would say that a Halloween H2O or David Gordon Green's 2018 Halloween actually,
I agree,
really brings suspense a lot more than the original Halloween does.
Get the fuck out of here. H2O barely has any kills. It's way too short. It's just got a lot.
Oh, you mean like barely has any kills? You mean like the first Halloween does? Okay.
The first Halloween has like some of the most effective kills, actually. And like some of the most
there's
effective
nothing more
scares.
effective.
Maybe some really boring kills.
Yes, the most boring.
At least Nightmare has interesting kills. Halloween has boring kills if it's supposed to be a slasher film. But like you don't care about any of these characters at all. There's no character or plot.
In Halloween,
The Shining maybe has one kill,
so it's just Michael.
Maybe sit back on that one.
No. You totally care about Laurie Strode. You totally care about Loomis. You totally want these people to succeed, and Laurie does.
And I care more about Laurie in future installments than I do in the first film.
Well, that doesn't matter now, does it? Like
it does if you want to talk about legacy.
Absolutely, and at least my franchise had the decency to end properly.
Film. It doesn't matter if the character was done different
in another movie.
We're talking about the greatest horror film, not the greatest
Child. You get the better
about Laurie Strode
camp there than you do in the first one.
No, Dream Child is a garbage movie, but that's besides the point.
Dream Child actually, I think, does the dream stuff a little bit better because, like, when you go into Dream Child, they actually like explore a lot of the different things you can do in dreams, and I think the first one is a good good like template for that to start it. But like you really kind of like fall out of like ideas there. Like the ending of the film
I don't want
is
to
like
waste
really
time talking about Dreamworld when Nightmare on Elm Street, like the only reason people watch it is because they find it funny. People don't find Nightmare on Elm Street like horrific or scary at all. They watch it because of the campy dialogue.
And I think that's true because
movie.
Freddy Krueger has become like, you know, this really silly character. So it
It's
kind of
campy.
devalues the first movie a lot, actually. When he does the like, you like, you
Yeah,
can
the
feel
Nightmare on Elm
him
Street,
actually
the
being
Nightmare on Elm
really
Street
silly.
series doesn't really take off because they finally realized that they can do the kind of camp that it
Because
does.
Robert Englund is entertaining. You can't say the same thing about Michael Myers, and the only reason people watch
Michael
The
Myers
Shining
isn't
is to take a
trying
nap.
to be like entertaining. The movie's entertaining, but Michael Myers is just trying to kill people. That's all he wants to do.
So the one thing,
And
so
why
I-
doesn't he?
For
Why
what
doesn't
reason?
he make kill people when it's easiest? Instead, he just stalks them, and when he could easily kill people, he doesn't.
so let's
Michael or
let's
Freddy?
move on.
Because
Michael.
Freddy likes the
Michael
chase
really
way
likes
better.
Michael.
I want to throw some attention over at Identity, though, because I honestly, Will, I don't think this movie belongs in here at all. Like,
Yeah,
nobody
we can talk
talks
about
about
it.
this
Absolutely
film.
not.
Nobody thinks this film is the greatest horror movie ever made. And I think that a lot of people would probably question its horrorness at all. Like, it's more of a
How so? When
psychological thriller.
there's
It's a
slasher
thriller.
elements,
It's
there,
a
you know,
thriller.
there's
It's
slasher
slasher
elements,
elements, but those are the least
psychological.
interesting parts of. And then, you know what? When you try to like actually like these characters, when you find out that they're all in one guy's head, you go, oh, well, I guess I shouldn't care about those characters anymore. And you
Why?
just kind
Right.
of like run out of
Exactly.
steam. You're like, that's
you
it.
spend the entire
ruins
movie
when you watch it.
realizing
That's what even makes it more compelling
You
is
spend
that
the entire
you're actually
movie-
getting one layered character. You're not only getting one layered character, but you're getting a 12 layered character.
It just
one
pisses
thing
the
you've
audience
never
off.
actually seen in anything else.
It's a blend
Yeah,
of everything
you
that our
Split
movies do
and other
better.
movies like that, and
How?
Split and Moon Knight. You've seen that.
Yeah,
It's actually done
Split is
way
actually
better in
extremely
Split later
offensive.
on with James McAvoy.
Split's a very effective movie.
Yeah, it is, and way better than Identity. And
No, it's
like
not.
no
because-
one would bring up Identity in this, and so that's why. I mean, I'm not trying to like write you off because you argue
You
it
were not
well.
trying to
I'll
write
say
me off.
that.
I like the
But-
movie personally, Identity, but greatest horror
I
movie of
don't
all
really-
time? No, thank you.
I don't even think it's that good of a movie personally. I know a lot of
It
people
has great,
might talk about it being
slasher elements, has
underrated,
great kills, which a
but
lot of your films
underrated
don't
horror,
have.
underrated
It
horror
has,
film
you
or
know, it has
psychological
great
thriller.
atmosphere, which a lot of your films don't have.
We already
And it has
established that Freddy
great-
has
Mine
the
has
best.
like the
Great
best
director.
atmosphere in all of them. Actually, I would say like
No,
mine.
your
Maybe The
best
Shining is right
atmosphere,
under
the
that.
best atmosphere. So Shining has the best atmosphere because you go into the movie already knowing you're going to be going into this crazy ass hotel, and you
What?
see that slow descent into madness.
Yeah, you know,
You actually
you
don't
go
see
through
the
it.
slow descent into
You
madness
do see
because
it.
he's crazy. He's crazy from the get go.
He's not.
You
He's
see
not.
him go to that
He's
hotel for the job
It's
interview,
Jack
the way he
Nicholson.
smiles, because he's
Jack
Jack
Nicholson always
Nicholson and
plays
crazy
crazy.
in general. You know he's going to
You
kill
don't.
that family.
No, because
from
he's
the
not.
very beginning.
He's not immediately going into.
It's
I'm going to kill
done
my
way
fucking
better in the
family.
book.
It goes into trying to write this
And
thing,
it's done way
not being
better
able to
in
write,
Dr.
and
Sleep
going
later on.
into seeing fucking
King wrote
people,
this movie off
seeing people
as
in
an
the fucking
abysmal
car.
adaptation.
What?
You
Seeing people in a
sorry,
car.
wow, that's fucking false. Yes, Stephen King did not like this adaptation, but
Yeah.
it had to be changed. It had to be changed.
No, it did not.
Change it
Look
all.
at Dr.
Yes,
Sleep.
it
That's a
didn't.
fantastic movie, and he's able to get the brilliant style that Kubrick had with all of the character development and story that was actually in the book that Kubrick thought wasn't that important. Turns out it's actually pretty damn important.
No,
best
because he
part
made
of
a movie that's even scarier, and he made a movie that's
No,
a movie
it's
that's
not
even
scary
better
at
than the
all
book.
because
It
you
is.
see the guy crazy from the very beginning, and it's just like
You don't
have
because
a
you
couple
see that
girls
build
around
up.
the corner. You have the little
And what's
Tony
Bill
fingering.
Bill.
That's comedic.
like an elevator
That's
full of blood
not even
opening up
scary.
isn't scary. It's interesting, but it's not scary.
It's not
It
supposed
is
to be scary.
It's
another
overuse of
element
blood.
that's
Fun
supposed to build
and
tension.
screensaver.
Things in the film, but they are not scary at
It's another
all.
element that's supposed to build
I
tension for the
also
entire movie.
I want to touch on something else about The Shining real quick. I really want to disapprove of The Shining about Kubrick's and the rest of the crew's treatment of Shelley Duvall. That's why I think
that doesn't
it
come
affects-
into account.
it
It
affects
doesn't come into
the
account.
question of the movie is the greatest horror film ever made. I find when I'm watching that movie, and I feel like a lot of people do, they watch the movie and they say, well, that woman was tortured for like the entire movie. Like psychologically and physically.
I understand.
It gets great characterization, but it's so mean.
Under the
Yeah.
same picture that goes on with Shelley
brutal.
Duvall.
You shouldn't have to
It
push
doesn't-
that
It
far.
doesn't matter when
I
we're trying
feel like-
to argue what the best horror film ever made is. That doesn't come into question.
It does come into
It has to
question
come
because,
into it
like,
if
you
you're going to
have-
talk about legacy.
Yes, it does. Yes, exactly. The
You know, I was
legacy
trying
of
to
The
say to you
Shining is
without trying to
brutal.
bring you into question, because Shelley Duvall, it's horrid what happened to her. It's horrid what happened to her, but it's needed because you see
That's
it
fucked
makes
up.
her a better
Noah.
actor.
That's
I mean,
fucked up to say, buddy. I'm sorry to say.
Justify.
I know you're trying to defend the movie, but that's fucked up to say that you torture this poor woman who had to quit acting and has still lost her hair, psychological abuse from this movie. That, you know, that's really fucked up.
Okay,
but,
so me saying it's needed is a slip of the tongue, but me saying that it's a movie is false.
And your movie's way too long. Any tension that it builds up, you're just waiting for like some sort of release, and it never really comes.
And this,
it's just
is why Identity
like
is the perfect film, because it has the perfect runtime, has the perfect.
Yours is longer than mine. Mine has the perfect runtime. Mine is the best, like 90-second.
If you're talking about
90 minutes that you could watch, and it has like some of the most effective.
Your film may be short, but mine actually has character development all the way.
Yours doesn't really have that good of character development. Mine has great character development. You care about Donald Pleasance. You care about Loomis. You care about Strode. You care about the little kids. You want all of them to be safe. And mine is just the most effective. Mine, I'm not true.
A movie that 90-minute movie feels like 2 hours because it has extreme pacing.
My characters are the
templates
that everybody
way later on
brings back to. That's why they keep bringing my characters back. You guys are proving my point.
Like
that people love these characters
potential
because of my film.
No, see, she's a perfect final girl. She doesn't wait around for Michael.
Nancy's decent, but she learned from Laurie Strode. And Nightmare West learned from John Carpenter too.
Laurie Strode.
Learn from is a very relative term. They didn't know each other.
And time for the 10-minute open discussion. That was about as interesting as I think that could have possibly gone, as there's Alejandro back. For what it's worth, if anybody's curious, we had, and this is not counting the sections where people were just talking over each other, in terms of actual discussion changes, we had 73 different changes in discussion of who was speaking in 10 minutes. And the longest, I made note of this, was actually our 50th change. There we go. That's fun. Chad got 19 seconds and 19.31 seconds interrupted. That was the longest anybody had without getting interrupted. So there we go. So that was the shit show I wanted it to be. Thanks, guys, for playing along. We'll go ahead and wrap this match up. So you guys are going to get 2 minutes here all by yourself to make every point that you have left. Judges, do you guys need another moment behind the scenes to get your thoughts together, or do you have everything good to go? Mindy's giving me a shrug. That feels about right. Jake, are you good to go? Jake's positive as always. Austin looks like he's auditioning for a bad Adam Sandler comedy. So we'll go ahead and go into it as we have 2 minutes left on the clock. Chad, we started with you, so we'll start with you here again. You have 2 minutes on the clock to get everything out that you need to get out before it's all said and done. The timer will start when you begin speaking.
Yeah, I mean, it's easy to go back and call a lot of the elements of my film cookie cutter because it is the template for the what made the greatest horror film ever made. It is the thing that everybody goes back to see. Wait, how did John Carpenter do it? Oh, he said the script comes first. How did Dean Cundy do it? Oh, he used great lighting, film, shot composition, just, blocking, just all of this great stuff. It has the best performances. It didn't need anybody to attack them or to, psychologically damage them in order to give them a great performance. It just said, hey, give me a great performance, newcomer Jamie Lee Curtis. Okay, you're going to become one of the biggest stars. Thank you very much. And since she went on. And then another point levied against me was that Laurie Strode was used better later. That's not really the case for this question. She was used phenomenally in this. She becomes someone who is, the the babysitter, the what did they call it? The girl who does everything for everyone and nothing for herself. And yet, because she's not going out partying with her friends, she's the one that notices Michael in the corner of your eye, in the background, in the distance. You can rewatch this movie and see little things that you didn't notice before, like, oh my God, Michael's like right there. And like, I never noticed that before. That's why everybody returns to this movie every single year, at least if you're a horror fan, because this is the quintessential film that started it all. And it didn't start it all, but it popularized an entire genre. With Identity, that film doesn't even really belong in this question, because no one really talks about that one. Nightmare on Elm Street, that just follows in Halloween's footsteps. It did something interesting, but it loses it all in the ending. And then the character development, all that was lost in The Shining. The Shining is way too long. And then, yeah, that's it. Halloween is the greatest horror film ever made.
And time. All right, Noah, over to you. 2 minutes.
Nightmare on Elm Street is really just copied Halloween and the idea of a slasher film. It's really campy. Horror is supposed to be really scary and frightening the audience, but if you have laughable dialogue and moments, it just ruins the movie as a horror film. It's forgettable. It's the kind of movie that not the actors' sweat and tears the audience cares about. It's just only the blood. People forget Johnny Depp is in this movie. It rides off of the back of what Halloween does, and audiences just go and see this movie because it's funny. In Halloween, no one takes Loomis seriously because of his over-the-top dramatic horror movie terms. Donald Pleasance is a bit too hammy in his role. This movie starts the annoying trope that only virgin, righteous women can be the protagonists that scream and parodies make fun of. It establishes the link that if you have sex, you're going to die. There's no character development. The characters are not even interesting. Annie is annoying and only wants sex. Linda's even worse and has even less screen time. And don't even get me started on Bob. The entire movie has a bit of an after-school special feel to it due to its low budget and so many teenage characters. And because it's John Carpenter's first film, it has an amateur kind of feel about it. Everything he does in this movie is done better later in other movies like The Thing. In Identity, you spend a chunk of the movie being manipulated for nothing. Identity is elaborately crafted, just piece of nothing. We don't care about seeing this big truth. Mangold needs to feel like he's wowing us instead of just entertaining us. But amid the confusion, the really scary moments just pass you by. The movie isn't scary, and you just don't give a shit because the movie just doesn't let you give a shit. In The Shining, you need that runtime to be able to set up that tension, and that tension is set up effectively with the steady cam, with the shaky cam, and with all these elements that happen in the movie. Duvall's convincing turn as a mother who desperately wants to save herself and her son being murdered feels very real because of Shelley Duvall.
And time. All right. Will, over to you. 2 minutes.
If Shelley Duvall's performance in The Shining felt real, it's because it practically was real for her. She was being psychologically tortured the entire film, and that tarnishes the film's legacy overall. With both with Halloween and with Nightmare on Elm Street, while those films are interesting in their own rights and did a lot for the horror, for the horror community, at the very beginning, the fact of the matter is that further entries actually gave more character development to the lead characters, and I actually had more interesting installments later on down the line. Halloween was vastly better with Halloween H2O because we actually got to hear what the results were of all that psychological torture going on. And with Halloween 2018, even more so. With Nightmare on Elm Street, you have the Dream Child and the Dream Warriors, which actually explored what Freddy's powers actually were, as well as how deeply it could be. The first Nightmare on Elm Street and the first Halloweens were good starting places, but they're definitely not in the lexicon of best films. The reason why Identity is the best film is because it takes all of which it had come before, not only with slashers like Halloween and with Nightmare on Elm Street, but also with films for the films of Alfred Hitchcock, like Psycho, and you have the writings of Agatha Christie, who were great suspense writers. You mix all of this suspense with great psychological horror, with great actual horror, with great slasher elements, and you get a melting pot of all of the best horror that money can buy. Not only with the great cast, not only with the great writing, the great, no one wants to say that you don't give a shit at the end. No, you want to go back and see if you can actually guess that ending again. You're watching this movie over and over again. Split was brought up. Split wouldn't have happened if this movie wouldn't have come first. Identity is a great trailblazer that no one has seen, and that's why it's best.
All right, Alejandro, over to you. You have the final 2 minutes. Time starts when you begin speaking.
Everybody jumped on A Nightmare on Elm Street because they recognize that it is the best horror film of all time. Halloween was unbaked potential. It is a slasher film in the most basic sense. The Shining is like watching a screensaver change. Visually interesting, but incredibly boring. You could take a nap during that film. Identity is a blend of every horror movie ever made, and it does it so poorly. Entertaining, sure, but it's not a good movie. Nightmare on Elm Street is an interesting idea, an original idea that took slasher genre to the next level. Yes, you have a hack and slash slasher movie with a serial killer who was brought back in monster form. You have a ghost story because he is a former person who came back as a demon, and you do have this psychological aspect like you would in Identity, being trapped in a dream. That's what makes Nightmare on Elm Street the best horror movie of all time, among other things. Of course, you have Freddy Krueger in Robert Englund's he's a guy that genuinely enjoys killing people and will make jokes about it because he finds levity in the situation. There's no just standing around and waiting for him to pop up behind a sheet. There's no weird like slow motion turns that it takes. There's nothing in the movie that wastes any time, and Nightmare on Elm Street has the best concept in any horror movie. It can't be replicated. Maybe New Nightmare was a better movie, but it had to stem from this movie. It had to take this idea and try to make it better than it already was. Dream Child is a garbage movie. I hate that movie. Sure, Dream Warriors was a fun film. It had a great soundtrack with Dawkins, but Nightmare on Elm Street, the original, the OG, is where it all came from, because nightmares are what horrify people. We don't know where they come from, and we don't know what they mean. So Nightmare's the best of all time.
And time. All right, guys, that is it. I do want to commend you all. Excellent job to all four of you. This has been something else. But we are going to do a cutaway. We'll cut back in just a moment, at which point we will have our judgments in, guys. We'll see you in just a moment. All right, guys, so we are back, and as you can see, I have switched out the competitors for our judges. We are joined by Medee, Jake, and Austin, who had to sit backstage and try and understand that absolute shit show. Once again, thank you, competitors. That was everything I wanted it to be and more. Oh, Alejandro looks like he just got home. All right, so we're going to go ahead and throw it over to the judges. So what I'm going to have you guys do, rather than, same thing as I did in the last one, rather than having you guys like reveal your specific rankings or whatever, I'm just going to ask you to pick any element or one or two elements about this fight that stood out to you, because this is just as much a critique of this format as a potential exhibition, just letting them all go at each other like ravenous animals. So I'm just curious to hear what your guys' thoughts are. Medee, I'll go to you first. You look like you've just eaten a bad school lunch. How do you feel about what went down, and what was kind of something that stood out?
This, you guys just had an election, and this feels like another debate from an election, because everyone just started talking. I understood maybe 5 words throughout the entire 10 minutes. Like, I speak a fair amount of languages, and I had no idea what was going on, but I heard words every now and then. I was like, that's a mine. Like, I don't even know what else to say. Like, these guys just like kept going, and the fact that you had the graph, like the stat of like, oh, there was 20 seconds uninterrupted by one person, and that was it. I was like, yeah, That sounds about right.
I can throw you another stat. The average length that somebody spoke, like if I average it all together, that somebody spoke without getting interrupted was probably around 11 seconds. That's about as long as somebody could speak before they got interrupted.
That seems almost too long for what we just witnessed.
I would have thought it would be like 4 seconds.
Yeah,
I was going to say
5 seconds
three,
tops.
3.5. Like it was
Half a sentence. Yeah.
Do you have? There's no way you have this. Do you have how many people were talking at once for the longest amount of time?
Oh my God! Immediately.
No, I wasn't able.
Because that's the number I want to know. I want to know the number of like how often were we listening to all 4 people just like yelling at each other. And
I should have had a third timer. That was you're right. I should.
On the back.
We can take that for next time though. We can take that.
Yeah, just red book items.
Absolutely. All right, Jake. I'm gonna go.
Really good job. I'm not gonna say anything else, but they all did pretty good for what I can understand.
Absolutely. Well, guys, he's a foreigner. He did the best he could. Jake, I'm gonna go down to you. Who gets your? God, now I sound like our ex-president. Jake, you're gonna go ahead and get to give your opinion. What were your thoughts on this? What's something that stood out to you?
Big congratulations to all the competitors. It was fantastic. It was fair, which that's amazing. So good job to everyone on that. I got to shout out anytime anyone gives a Tato level answer. Noah, it was needed. Fantastic. Great stuff.
that was to be fair, she has said something to the effect in interviews as well. Not as obvious as that, but look, Noah was kinder to her than Dr. Phil was, okay? Austin, we'll go to you. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, that was a the Shelley Duvall tangent was a tangent I didn't know we were going to go on, but yeah, I did think it was kind of interesting. It works a lot like some of the other exhibitions work, where it's like one movie gets brought up, and it's like everybody piles onto that like a 3-on-1, and then it rotates to the next movie a 3-on-1, or rotates to the next movie 3-on-1, and it's like So I think what I was looking for was how the one person who was being dogpiled on kind of came back and countered some of that stuff, and then I was looking, and it definitely factored into mine. Again, we'll reveal it in a second, but which competitors kind of again focused on maybe their movie or the question, in their closings. Like that certainly helped me a little bit, which some had stronger ones than others. But yeah, I mean, good overall. I caught what I could in the chaos, but I was definitely looking for those bookends for sure to really cap it off for myself.
Let's be real. It was the most chaotic gangbang we've ever witnessed. Everyone's constantly rotating in weird directions. Focusing on
That's true. That's true. There wasn't just one person on top the whole time. It was
that's true.
Will, stop fucking your camera. What are you doing?
all 4 competitors had everyone focused on them at some point. And then they switched to someone else.
So what you're saying is everybody came. By the end of it, everybody got
everyone came.
And we're all spent. All right, there we go.
Everyone's there's nothing left in the
All right. So before we go ahead and throw it to the scores, since I do already have them, I had a couple of fact checks I was able to kind of pull out and look up. Just some fun things.
I got one. Cooper didn't direct one for the Cuckoo's Nest, but okay. Somebody threw that out there.
The runtime was something that was focused on a lot, which is incredibly interesting that each of these competitors had something to say about another film's runtime, because 3 of them have damn near identical runtimes. Halloween has a runtime of 91 minutes, Identity has a runtime of 90 minutes, and A Nightmare on Elm Street has a runtime of 91 minutes. Easily at that point, the longest one is obviously The Shining. Now, what's interesting here is The Shining is listed as having 2 completely different runtimes based on what region you're in. If you saw the American print of the film, it comes in at about 2 hours and 24 minutes. But if you've seen the European cut of the movie, it is only 1 hour and 59 minutes. I don't know what they removed to have it shrunk down by nearly an hour, but it is apparently that much shorter.
Was Which version of us?
Yeah, that's really, I don't know why. I didn't look into it, but I noticed that. Another bit that I was able to pull out is someone said that Halloween was Carpenter's debut. That is technically incorrect. It is his third film. He did direct Dark Star and Assault on Precinct 13 before directing Halloween. It is, however, his first foray into horror. And the last thing is, from everything that I could find, because I did do a lot of research into it, which is how I was able to make that Dr. Phil joke, it seems that Shelley, though it was obviously Shelley Duvall was talked about a lot. Also, at one or two points, somebody definitely called her Shelley Long. Shelley Long is the woman who lasted 5 years on Cheers before throwing her career away. Shelley Duvall is the one that was in The Shining. Shelley Duvall retired in 2002, obviously well over 20 years after she filmed The Shining. Though it was seemingly implied that The Shining was the thing that pushed her to retire, according to her own words, an interview that she gave late last year prior to making her return to film, which was this year, Duvall said that she retired from film simply because she felt worn out, that just in general, the Hollywood system and the constant rotation of working in movies as she got older, she felt more and more worn out. In the same interview, she also spoke about her experience while filming The Shining, and she said, quote, filming the movie was hell to be a part of, but she also said that, to quote, if Stanley Kubrick hadn't done everything with the force and cruelty he did, then I guess it wouldn't have turned out as it was. So even she has admitted to some extent that part of her performance does come from what Kubrick did. And if you're not aware of what Kubrick did on set, it's very known. For starters, he was kind of shitty to every actor on that film. She is the one who got it to worst. But if you can find record, he was shitty to every actor on that film. But specifically with Duvall, he would have her redo her scenes over and over again. That's where the famous 127 takes comes from, is a scene involving Shelley Duvall. He also told all the actors to ignore her on set through large portions of the production in order to have her literally feel the sense of alienation from the world that the character would be feeling in the movie, also to drive some sort of mania of not having anyone to turn to. And that's in addition to any of the stunts. Apparently Kubrick on set would often pull pranks, I guess would be the word, on cast members, and he would do all sorts of things just to kind of keep them on edge. He truly was the Jared Leto of his day. And the last thing that I could turn out is, because I thought of this joke way back at the start, yes, Noah, Stanley Kubrick is the best filmmaker in every genre. Lolita is the best adult man wants to fuck a child movie ever to exist. I thought of it, I wrote it down, I saved it. You're welcome. This show is really just practice for my non-existent stand-up career. But with that said, judges, Austin, Jake, Mehdi, thank you guys so much for sitting through whatever this was. I'm going to go ahead and put you guys backstage because we're going to go ahead and reveal who came in what place. So we will go ahead and get into it. So we took the scores in the break. I've already put it together. I know exactly who had what. So we'll go ahead and get into it. And introducing in 5th place with 0 points, John Marr, who is somewhere in the American Northeast. Austin is asking for credit.
I did my best. I worked the horror, question, and maybe I just didn't really convey, why mine was the best of all time. I'll try to work on that next time. But I am a horror guy, so it's a little disappointing. But congrats to the other competitors.
You made John sound like a character from The Big Bang Theory. I'm going to go ahead and put you in the back as we'll bring in the actual competitors. And it wouldn't be a very specific 2-part horror exhibition match if we didn't somehow end up with a tie. So if you guys remember the last match, this is golf rules. I had each judge rank the competitors. They ranked them, and then based on where they ranked, that's how many points they got. So coming in, I guess, 3rd place, we'll say to make it sound better, tied for 3rd, with 9 points apiece, we have Noah McCausland, that's Will Cohen, and Will Cohen with 9 points apiece. Congratulations, guys. How do you guys feel about coming in 3rd?
Noah, you go first.
Okay. Yeah, I think I just got caught up with talking about Shelley Duvall and the pacing of The Shining, when really that's the only bad things that everyone could say against The Shining, and I didn't really exemplify the good parts of it enough. I was more focused on trying to tear everyone else down, which speaks to me as a person, I guess. But yeah,
we're not here to judge you as a person. We're here to judge your movie opinion.
No, this was just fun, and like it was a shit show, but it was a fun shit show. So,
all right, Will, and you have 1 minute on the clock, and no.
Honestly, for putting in as very little effort as I put into this, getting third again a second time, I think it's kind of surprising. I did choose The Outlier. I did choose a film that I know not everyone is ever going to have in the conversation. So to get third in this kind of says what kind of competitor I can be. Maybe if I would have prepared better, I could have gotten higher, or not. I didn't really care. But Noah did great. Everyone did great. This was just the shit show I knew it was going to be, and I was here for it 100%. Cheers,
all
everyone.
right. Well, coming in second place with a barely above you guys. It's the same shit as last time. Grand total of 8 points. Alejandro Hernandez comes in second place, which I'm not even going to try and build the suspense. We should have just handed him the fake trophy before he walked in here. With 4 points overall, Webb does I don't know what's happening right now.
Oh. That's no good.
I think I just I definitely my internet's catching up. Give it a second. I don't know what I sound like, but my internet's catching up. There we go. Are we here?
Yeah.
Are we back? We're back now. There we go. I'm not editing that.
Yes.
It's not worth it. Guys, we're back. Chad, you came in first place, sir. Once again, congratulations. I think the horror fans out there will be happy that you defended an all-time classic. So I'm going to go ahead and give you the ultimate prize. Since there isn't a trophy, there isn't a title match, there isn't anything. You have the ultimate prize of pissing off half of our fan base in one shot. What are your thoughts on Halloween Ends?
I really like Halloween Ends, actually. If you go over to my channel, Chadwick Webb, I actually had my buddy Austin on there and a lot of other people that I usually rank stuff with. We discussed this. Austin does not like Halloween Ends. He thinks it was the worst of the trilogy, probably the worst of the franchise. Well, actually, no, he didn't say it was the complete worst of the franchise, but I think it's one of the best. I think it's the best Halloween sequel. So that's a hot take, I know, but yeah. So
right,
you wanted me to piss off people, so there you go.
Yeah, I was gonna say Alejandro's already shaking his head. Will celebrated a little bit. I don't know. I think Noah just wants to go to bed. I'm in the same time zone as him, so I imagine how he's feeling. Austin is visibly upset backstage. I think Jake's eating a sandwich. I don't know what he's doing. And Mehdi still looks like he's trying to break down what just happened. And that really is the essence of this video, guys. Thank you so much for sticking with us and watching this. The four of you guys, thank you for making this everything that I wanted it to be. Anyone who's a part of the Facebook page, I can say this because it'll be one of the last ones to go up. Anyone who's a part of the Facebook page knows that I put an announcement out. Anything that we hadn't recorded or that wasn't already in production in relation to exhibition matches was scrapped for the rest of the year. And on some level, there's going to be a complete redevelopment of how exhibitions work, just because I don't think 100% the format was working prior to this. This is the type of weird, fun shit that we should be doing, because this was an absolute shit show and nobody's leaving with their feelings hurt. I hope. I don't know. Alejandro got a little upset when Chad talked about Halloween Ends, so maybe that one might have pushed the nerve.
I haven't seen the movie.
This was fun, guys.
Oh, that's true. Okay, so you're just you're in traffic, so that's probably it. We'll go ahead and wrap this up, guys. Thank you, my judges backstage, Austin, Mehdi, and Jake. Thank you, Alejandro, Noah, Will. Congratulations, Chad, on taking this home, guys. If the match hasn't already gone up. Actually, now that I'm saying this, all of them may have gone up. I don't know. Chad, Will, Noah, Austin also backstage. All four of these guys are in semifinals matches for the tournament. They're actually all in different semifinal matches. I just realized that. So go check those out. See if they made it on to the next round. See if their opponent made it on to the next round. And we will see what happens. There you go, Will. Match the crowd. Alejandro doesn't care. He's already done for the year.
Yeah, I'm out on this one.
Sorry,
my name is Aaron Knoll. We'll see you guys next time. Take care. Actually, fuck it. I'm going to have to edit this anyways. I'll put the credits in afterwards. See you guys.